I also saw that Mr. Jitrapon, you have the inverted background. Suji, if you see Sujiv's email, the file is there. I just saw your message. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be going live now. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. In Nepal and in Thailand, in the rest of the world who are watching us live right now. We're very excited about this panel, especially also because this is the second panel of the day in the panel series, which has like 3 interesting topics. And we're following up with some of the interesting talks that were discussed in the first panel. Before we actually go and start this, the title itself says what we're going to talk about today, a startup ecosystem and innovation in both Thailand and Nepal. It's a very interesting topic, and this is also a start of looking for alliance, collaboration between Thailand and Nepal. To start this, I would like to welcome our guest for opening remarks, as well as our panelists. First of all, I would like to welcome His Excellency Mr. Vosita Vorasaph, who is Ambassador of Thailand to Nepal, to give his remarks. He is a person who doesn't really require a lot of introduction, so I would actually just, ask him to go ahead with his remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Suchitra. Namaste and Sawadee krab. I would like to welcome you all to Thailand-Nepal Economic Forum webinar series 2022, co-organized by the Royal Thai Embassy in Kathmandu and Nepal Economic Forum. The webinar are aimed at sharing knowledge and lessons learned, exploring collaborations, opportunities, as well as discussing new economic trends in Thailand, Nepal, and beyond. I would like to thank the co-organizer, Nepal Economic Forum, as well as all the distinguished co-chairs, panelists, and moderators for joining us and making this event reality. Please allow me to share some background of the topics of this panel. In the past months, the embassy has been approached by both the Thai and Nepali innovation agencies to reach out to each other and explore possible collaboration. The embassy has met a series of Nepali agencies that work on the promotion of startup and innovation in Nepal. We were also approached by Mr. Achayut Koilala, co-founder of Tree Ventures, one of our panelists today, who want to create a launchpad for a startup ecosystem in Nepal. More specifically, he planned to follow and link it with the model of Thailand, Startup Thailand ecosystem of the National Innovation Agency of Thailand. The embassy believes that in addition to these initiatives, there are tremendous opportunities for Thailand and Nepal to exchange best practices among our policymakers, strengthen science, technology, and innovation, cooperation, expand R&D partnerships between firms and research institutes, promote exchange of experts and professionals, as well as develop joint talents and entrepreneurship. Apart from this panel, we just had the first panel on biocircular green economy, a guiding concept under the Thailand's BIMSTEC chairmanship in 2022-2023, which could be watched online later at the embassy Facebook page. Plus, we will have another panel on business and SDG in 1 hour. Please stay tuned. I hope to see you all in there again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency, for your wonderful remarks. After this, I would like to, first of all, welcome our another guest for the remarks, Dr. Sunil Babushresta. He is Vice Chancellor of NAST. He has also been member of Nepal Planning Commission and has been championing science, technology, and innovation in Nepal for decades. And thank you very much for being here. Over to you, Dr. Sunil Babushresta. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, moderator Dr. Pandey. His Excellency Mr. Vosita Vorasaph, Ambassador of Thailand to Nepal, distinguished speakers and panelists and participants, ladies and gentlemen. I wish you all a very warm greetings from Nepal Academy of Science and Technology, NAST. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers, Royal Thai Embassy, Kathmandu, and Nepal Economic Forum for the invitation to me to put the opening remarks at this very interesting panel too, with the theme, the startup ecosystem and innovation in the Thailand and Nepal of this important Thailand-Nepal Economic Forum Series 2022. We all are here in this virtual platform to exchange the informations, knowledges, experiences, and explore the collaborations, opportunities in the areas of startup ecosystems and the innovations between the Thailand and Nepal. These panel discussions of this webinar will definitely provide us the insights on the topic. And in this context, let me take this opportunity to introduce my representative organizer, Nepal Academy of Science and Technology, NAST, and describe briefly how the NAST is trying its best to establish the innovation ecosystem and supporting for the startup. NAST is an autonomous apex body of Nepal established in 1982, mandated by its act for the overall development of the nations through the advancement of the science and technology. NAST is also act as a national think tank in the field of science and technology, provided the scientific and the science-related policy advice to the government of Nepal. The mission of NAST at this moment is science for society and innovation for prosperity. In 2019, National Science, Technology and Innovation Policy was prepared by the government of Nepal, Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, with the involvement of NAST. After the inclusion of the innovations in the policy for the first time, following the government policy, NAST is trying its best to set the innovation ecosystem through the holistic approach. In these connections, we have established the Center of Innovation for Prosperity and intensified its activities, especially focusing on the activities related to COVID-19 response and the others. Similarly, the preparation of the National Innovation System Framework and the National Innovation Index is incompatible with the Global Innovation Index is going on. And National Innovation Digital Network has already been established. NAST is planning to establish the Innovation Cafe, Innovation Gallery, and Innovation Lab too. In collaboration with the Department of Industry, NAST has a plan to support for the patent-related things and organize the industry academia dialogue. NAST also provides the research and innovation grant for our young innovators for combating the COVID and prosperity projects. Some of the awarded projects are also related with the robot and the AI, the hospital service robot, dead body carrying robo van. These infections robots are some of the innovative products of the grants provided by the NAST. NAST in-house itself developed the humanoid, the robot called the Antrika for its service at its receptions to provide the mask and sanitizer and also provide the information to the visitor about the NAST. These all have the scope of the startup business and based on the innovations. Ladies and gentlemen, the innovations, if we talk about the innovation, the national STI policy of Nepal that came into the force from 2019 has also highlighted the need of enhancing the international collaborations through the science diplomacy. NAST is also collaborating with a number of national and international scientific organizations with having the MOU. For your kind information, NAST from the Nepal and the King Mongkut's University of Technology, North Bangkok from Thailand is also going to have the MOU so that the Institute of Space Technology for Economic Development support the NAST for the development of the satellite. Ladies and gentlemen, our diplomatic missions in different countries seems to be the primary focus on the themes such as the financial assistance, tourism promotion, employment generations, trade promotion, cultural exchanges. but the 21st century being the century of the supremacy of science, technology, and innovation, and many global challenges ahead, our diplomatic mission need to be properly oriented towards the seeking the opportunities for the technology transfer, scientific collaboration, science popularization, scientific capacity building, scientific data sharing to combat the global problems, solving the bilateral as well as the multilateral conflict through the scientific evidence and the exchange of the scientists for the knowledge and the skills transfer and connecting the scientists among the Nepali diaspora to the scientists working inside the country. In this context, I think this event is valuable and will pave the path in the direction of the strengthening the relation between Thailand and Nepal on the basis of the knowledge and innovation-based economic opportunity between the Thailand and Nepal. Ladies and gentlemen, as the saying goes, every cloud has a silver lining. This pandemic has brought the countries of the world closer for the mutual cooperations on the research and development in the field of science and technology. We are also happy to share here that the NAST has proposed the development of Science City from the Sadhyapada Lalitpur to the Botanical Garden Godavari, about the 11-kilometer stretch phase-wise in collaboration with the institution and located in the area at present and in future. And we have also proposed the development of science park in the premises of the NAST. I hope that this will be the attractive place for the startup business and interesting place for the learning the science and technology with fun. I think this is the one of the area of opportunity to work together with the international scientific organization, including the organization from Thailand. Once again, I would like to thank the organizer and the rest of you who participate in this program and listen to me. And I wish the every success of this event. And finally, I think this opportunity to wish for the further extending the friendly ties between the Thailand and Nepal through science diplomacy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to both the special guests for your wonderful, positive and encouraging remarks. It really sets the stage for us to move forward with our discussion actually on startup ecosystem and innovation in Thailand and Nepal. I was in the previous panel also and was really well presented and discussed. A lot of times what we see in general is we talk about the technical challenges of the topic and go into the details of that. I think at this point, a lot of the panelists and also the listeners know what are some of the technical challenges. So how we'll be guiding this discussion will be more focused on the systemic challenges of things. There are a few key points or keywords we can already think of when we talk about startups and innovation around technology transfer, collaboration, cooperation. Before we start any of that, I think it's important to understand the context of each of the ecosystems. Thailand, in many ways, I would say, is much more ahead in innovation, science, technology, and innovation than in Nepal. The context is very different, where both the countries are trying to go into the journey of economic growth, and it is different. And this is an opportunity to learn from each other and support each other. So with this, I will first introduce the panelists in this panel, and then we'll go into the discussion, and I'll talk about how we're going to do this in terms of time as well. We have 50 minutes and very interesting topics. So the first panelist I'll be introducing is Mr. Jitrapon. He is an innovation developer at the National Innovation Agency in Thailand. He has been working on various things, and right now he is really focusing on the industries, including food and beverage. He is leading quite a few initiatives at NIA, and I will not be talking about all of those. He will be talking about it, and so will each of the panelists. So with this brief introduction, I'll go to the next panelist, who is an assistant professor at Kathmandu University School of Management and co-founder of Idea Studio Nepal, Mr. Rupesh Shrestha. Welcome to the panel. Another panelist is Mr. Achut Koirala, founder of Tree Ventures Nepal. Excited to talk about your ventures and the launchpad idea you're talking about. And another panelist is Mr. Suman Sakya, who is co-founder of Nepal Entrepreneurs Hub, Nepal, and has many other enterprises as well. And I am Pratibha Pandey, who will be moderating this. The first round will be more about the kind of things that you're doing, your experiences, and your introductory remarks. Each of you will get 5 minutes to talk about it. We'll start with Mr. Jitrapon. If you can talk about your experiences specifically at NIA and some of the startup culture and innovation culture you're building there, that'd be great. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So good morning everyone in Nepal, and good afternoon everyone in Thailand. So it's my honor to be here sharing my knowledge and experiences to you guys. So first of all, my name is again Jitrapon, or you can call me Jade. I'm an innovation developer from National Innovation Agency of Thailand. You can call it NIA or NIA as you wish. So in practice, I have been, so since I started my job at NIA, I have been working on multiple schemes to support young businesses and also startups, focusing on biotechnology, agricultural technology, and food technology. So in particular, I am responsible for two of the schemes under NIA. One is the granting scheme, and the other is the acceleration program. So the granting scheme, we are giving out a government grant without exchange in equity, without ownership in IP, for anyone who are trying to develop their own innovative projects in the stage of prototype and pre-commercialization to test the market. And apart from that, I am also working with the SpaceF program, which is the first global food tech incubator and accelerator of Thailand. We are, so by global, I mean that we are working with global startups. We welcome the global startups from anywhere from the world to land in the program, and we help them grow the business in Thailand by connecting them to the relevant parties in Thailand. We help providing mentorship, providing access to market, provide access to funding opportunities, and also access to facilities that they need. So that's my work experience in a nutshell. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I will come back to you on some of those accelerator ideas and how you're funding this. It's very interesting. Thank you very much. Next, we will go to Mr. Rupesh Shrestha. We would love to hear about your experience as a professor at KU, as well as starter or founder, co-founder of Idea Studio, working with young, innovative minds. Over to you.
Sure. Thank you very much, Dr. Pratibha. Good afternoon and good morning to all the panelists, His Excellency, Dr. Sunil Babushresta. Warm greetings from Thailand. I'm in fact in Thailand at this moment in time. Rather than sharing my experience regarding what I've been doing so far, what I'd like to introduce in this introductory remarks is the stage at where our startup ecosystem and our innovation ecosystem is in Nepal. The thing is, our entrepreneurial ecosystem, it already existed in Nepal, but it was not formalized. Every geographical location or every economy, when you look at it, it has some level of ecosystem that is operating. What we are looking at is how can we really oil it better so that new startups, new innovation-driven startups see the light at the end of the tunnel in the first stage itself. So looking at Nepal's ecosystem, which is limited to Kathmandu, majority of the time, is at a very nascent stage. And like any other developing economy, Nepal also has the challenges of institutional voids, structural gaps, and resource constraints that is evident in all developing economies. And with these challenges, there have been some experimentations. Suman will reflect on that as well in his remarks, that there has been, in the last decade, there has been purposive interventions in building a startup ecosystem in Nepal. And with that, we have seen some very good results. There have been individuals, there have been institutions that have been engaged in promoting this startup ecosystem culture in Nepal. So with that, high levels of passion and enthusiasm, dedication in aspiring entrepreneurs, especially the youth of Nepal, is very evident. We see that. We see a lot of energy. We see a high decibel of energy being emanated by these aspiring entrepreneurs, where they are really embedded in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, but more at an informal level. See, so all these interactions that are happening, there are some formal level activities happening, but the majority of the interactions that are happening is more at the informal level, which is understandable because this is something that comes out from a developing economy. So the base is like what is happening at this moment. There's a lot of exchange of ideas, information, networks, connecting with limited available resources. That's what we are seeing. And there is a high level of awareness of opportunities, both at the formal and informal level within our ecosystem. And that is why we see an influx of youth being attracted towards entrepreneurship. And that is a global phenomenon leading towards Nepal as a developing economy as well. So that is what the situation is at this moment in time, right? But when you look at the structural composition of our ecosystem, when you look at the knowledge and innovation ecosystem within the ecosystem, the practice where the industry is their ecosystem, and the policy ecosystem, we see like the practice has been ignited, like I mentioned before. But when you look at knowledge, the formation of knowledge, the formation of the knowledge ecosystem is happening more at that informal level, where we see a lot of incubators and accelerators coming up, high level of interest in academic institutions towards innovation and entrepreneurship, but they have not been able to deliver yet, but at least there is an interest, right? And similarly, when you look at the investment sector as well, we do see institutional voids. There are few private equity firms that have emerged in the last 5-6 years, but when you look at the early stage investments, it's still very much focused on friends, family, and roots, the 3 Fs, right? So to sum it up, Nepal's or Kathmandu's entrepreneurial ecosystem, the startup ecosystem, or the innovation ecosystem, if you look at it, it is more functioning at the informal institutions. Even when you look at the innovation ecosystem, there have been a couple of new innovation centers that have emerged. One's like National Innovation Center by Mahavir Pun. Another one is getting established in Kathmandu University called NTIC, National Technological Innovation Center. Then there are changing roles of past institutions, like the one that Dr. Sunil Babu represents, NAST, right? They are changing their mission and objectives, and institutions like Recast, these research institutions are re-strategizing and looking at a different mission to add on to this ecosystem. So the thing is, so far in the last 10 years, experiment from the informal individuals and informal sectors, what we have established is the proof of concept that entrepreneurship is possible in Nepal, that innovation is possible in Nepal. We have seen some very, some few examples, very successful examples, but if we are to scale this, we have to formalize the findings, the experiences we as an ecosystem has created. And to formalize this, we need to create formalized institutions. Like, for example, right now also, when you look at the role of NAST in the innovation ecosystem, it is a government entity, but the formalization process is not only just concentrated in the innovation, but also integration with the industrial ecosystem as well. And that is only possible if you have a umbrella policy that really incentivizes, prioritizes innovation and entrepreneurship within the resource allocated. So I'll just leave it up there. Pratibha, definitely in the follow-up rounds, we'll highlight on how we can take this forward, how we can collaborate, because within the ecosystem, there are a lot of structural holes that we need to bridge. And collaboration is one way that we can really bridge these gaps. Like, for example, learnings can be transferred from Thailand to Nepal or from Nepal to Thailand as well, because there are certain technologies that some of our innovators are very good at, right? So there can be an exchanges like that where the structural gaps can be filled. So we'll talk on that more in the second round. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sort of like framing this and showing a holistic picture of where our ecosystem is. With this, I'm sure like there are so many opportunities, gaps, and as well as like there are so many initiatives that can be taken. So now we'll go to our next panelist, Mr. Achut Koirala, who will be hopefully we'll be talking about the ecosystem in general, as well as why and what warranted needs for these funding, equity fund agencies, as well as launch pads, as well as so many other innovative entrepreneurial initiatives you have taken. Over to Mr. Achut Koirala.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank you for the organizers and His Excellency for inviting in the event. Yeah, I support Rupesh's words that our ecosystem has to go in according to the umbrella phenomenon that what I see right now in our country, like our entrepreneurship, if we go official part, then it lies somewhere in Department of Ministry and Finance, and but not as a formally taken to the umbrella phenomenon, like what government of Thailand is doing is they were developing the new rules and regulations to tackle the difficulties for the new startup which have a new business models, likewise which we have to make it and collaboration with like NAST and then ministries and then the universities, so that later on we just cover the voids that what we have between the knowledge and expectation. What I see in between the entrepreneurs in Nepal, that they have an idea, but due to the lack of expertise of the teachings through the mentors who are the real entrepreneurs with a good expertise, these startups fail in the first phase, and there is another part, lack of fundings as well. Very rare companies only fund in a venture capital model or angel model. I see that what funds are funding now in only the foreign direct investment trend. First, we have to create from one side is like venture capital investors. For that, obviously, government have to just encourage the business community, as well alumnis to just unite to mega funds. And another thing I saw is Nepal has a very relatively swallow pool of experienced entrepreneurs who have a global experience and who teach the local entrepreneurs here. And it's another void that due to risk tolerance capacity that Nepalese local entrepreneurs don't have, they are not even succeeding to go abroad to be like unicorns that what other companies from Indian are going abroad. So there are voids, but from the government side, it's some schemes are coming, and then the hopeful thing is that in the private sector side, like Kathmandu University or Rikas from TU, and then there are a lot of accelerators and incubators are opening, but to make them like productive by only opening is no matter. we need to create in a launch pad or incubators. If we make some already successful entrepreneurs visit from abroad to teach the technical knowledges to even peoples of incubators, then I think we can create a little, pull between, put something in between the gap that what Nepalese ecosystem don't have. I think in between the knowledge and expectations gap of Nepalese entrepreneur ecosystem, if we put already proven foreign entrepreneurs technical knowledge there, then I think we will go a little bit skillful. And then when our entrepreneurs will get skill, technical knowledge, then obviously they will they will approach anywhere in the world due to the skills. Everyone knows that even there from Nepal there are no companies which buy in Y Combinator. But look at if you see in Africa, there are too many companies which have a very good access in Y Combinator mode. Why? Because there is a knowledge gap, big knowledge gap here. And what I was thinking in this some years of my own experience as an entrepreneur, that when I had a first patent in India, we didn't know how to commercialize that. And then what was that? We started seeking funding after making a pitch deck rather than making it a product and going after the user side. Okay. And then it's my experience, and then me kind of experience are with everyone. Like when we made just a pitch deck, even not the full business model, we didn't knew how to make that. And we searched for everyone in Kathmandu. We didn't got anyone that we can make the new kind of business model for new communication platforms.
For a minute,
Yeah.
going in a very interesting direction. That's exactly why I am stopping you, because I would want you to talk about this in the second round for sure. Thank you so much. I will come back to this exact point, and I would love to hear more from you. I will go to the next panelist now, Mr. Suman Sakya, who has been doing all kinds of things from training to serial entrepreneurship to advocating for the ecosystem. What do you think? I don't even know what I'm going to hear from you. It's very exciting, and we've heard from 3 panelists, so it'd be wonderful if you can sort of extract those and then go to this next thing that the things you're doing, and then align with those. That'd be very wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pratibha. Let me start by saying, what do I do? Currently, what I do is to help entrepreneurs, startups, and existing companies to grow. And why did I do this, and how do I do it? Is I do it through trainings and mentoring and coaching. Now, why did I did this? Is because I've been an entrepreneur for now. This is my 22nd year after I worked for 5 years. So I've been in this space in Nepal for quite some time. And what I realized, even through my own ventures, is that we come up with a lot of innovations. We have products in mind, but those products do not have legs to run. So it needs to be commercial, and that is very, very important. And one of the reasons why startups fail around the world, and in Nepal also, is because they do not have legs to run. They do not really have a very strong foundation on where they can work better. And what I have also personally realized is that having a small success is very good. But once you have that small success, what do you do next to climb up? And there's a big gap there. And sensing that gap, when the ecosystem was in its nascent phase and there was a little bit happening, there was a lot of contribution from entrepreneurs from Nepal. We were the first to come up with a boot camp sort of a intervention from Techstars. We started with the startup weekends. And that is how Nepal Entrepreneurs Hub was born. It was purely to build the community on how entrepreneurs or innovators can start thinking about startups and then start to commercialize and scale up. that was missing. People used to come and say that I have this wonderful idea. If I just have the money, I will do wonders. So that's how it started. But then in the last 5 years, there is money also available. But what is still not available is the support and the coaching and the mentoring that it takes for a good idea to become commercially great. So we focused on the community building, because even if there is money in the market, like I am the co-chair at the Nepal Federation of Nepalese Chambers of Commerce, there are 50 investors who have lined up to invest in 50 companies, but there hasn't been a single company that has been invested in, because ideas are great, but if you invest in the idea or on the startup, how will it take up? So that community building aspect was very important, and that's what we did for the past 10 years. And so that people would at least understand the process of how a business can run. And within this startup weekend activities and other boot camps that we did, we have had more than 900 people going through our programs. And more than now 70 people from that lot has become founders with the similar idea or a different idea and has taken it forward. So we feel that we have given something to the ecosystem so that they start thinking in that manner. And that was how things started to happen. And I think it is very important to contextualize this, because even now, policy-wise, there is no definition of what a startup is in Nepal. In fact, there is no definition of small and medium enterprise also. So from the policy side, from the support that is required from the government, there is very little that we can expect, because we are, as startups, we are put into the same basket of how any other company is looked at, whether it is opening, whether it is trying to get investments, so on and so forth. So that is very, very crucial. And in that process, I became a consultant to the World Bank, and we got in the Nepal Agribusiness Innovation Center with the Ministry of Agriculture. It was a World Bank support that was brought in. And what we realized then was that, yes, there are entrepreneurs, there are willing innovators in the market, in the field, but how do we get them? Because even if there is no institutional backing, as Rupesh was saying earlier on also, startups and private sector can only do so much. There has to be an innovation center that is required, where everything is available in that center, technically or resource-wise or knowledge-wise also. And then that was the concept that came in, and it has worked very well. That has been taken over, and it is now a separate entity focusing on agri-innovations. So similarly, there has been many actors in the ecosystem, including a wonderful activity by Idea Studio, where still now there is running, I think it's the 5th season, and it has helped many startups to move forward. So I feel that the ecosystem, as it is progressing, we now have much more maturity, though it is still in the nascent phase, but there is a stumbling block for which startups cannot move forward. There are strategic problems that we need to look at and take it out. Because if the policy aspect is not clear, then how does startups work? How does any activity or any innovation that is taken, unless now we have some interventions like Rupesh mentioned at Kathmandu University. I was there last week to be part of the boot camp, and there are so many willing individuals. So that is what I think we need to work on, and maybe I'll stop here and maybe take it forward in the next round.
Yeah, thank you very much. We'll come back to the strategy. We'll go to the other speaker around institutional backing and strategy a bit later. We'll learn about Thailand a bit later. First, let's go back to Mr. Achut Koirala, because he left at this point where, there was so much. I see a lot of energy here, because all of you are entrepreneurs and you have been working in the entrepreneurial ecosystem for a while. I heard IP, intellectual property. That means a lot of ideas, and that is huge asset we don't really talk about a lot. I heard about patent, which is part of IP, one part of IP. And then there was talk about investment and need for investors. And then Sumanji was talking about how we're not even investment ready because of lack of support or mentoring from the ecosystem. So we'll go back to Mr. Achut Koirala and hear about what he was talking about, where he was and why exactly he's creating exact platform to give all those things that he couldn't get early on. So back to Mr. Achut Koirala, and then we'll go to Mr. Jitrapon. And you have less than 5 minutes if you can make it.
Okay.
Really
Okay, sure. In 2011, we were working in India in one of a patent application, which was mass communication platform. And then I was coming and going from Nepal to India. And later, after working 1 year, we failed there, and I've been here. And then actually, I tried to just file the first patent of it. I was looking for the patent lawyer. And then I didn't found. And then I been to the government incubators, like everywhere. And then I saw in one of a Ministry of Department of Industry, there is an incubation center which gives 12,000 rupees. That's $120 for the patent incubation program. And that I didn't apply. That was like a coffee money, you know. That will not implement any startups with the patent. And after that, I approached that to everyone from FNCCI, all the people of FNCCI, and due to no one get responded. Why is there was a zero mindset about the innovation and entrepreneurship? Here it's a gap that there is a big gap that Sumanda told us right now. There is no definition of what is a startup. Either that is a scalable business opportunity or very normal business like tea shops. Both no one knows. And if you don't know what is a scalable disruptive idea, that are startups, which is based on revenue models. And then due to that, like I spent my 10 years of my journey of 11, 12 products and got a big zero value. So what and what is the problem? It is not only me kind of entrepreneurs, but I see that some another entrepreneurs like possibly Sumanda or Rupesh knows Short Code Games. Short Code Games, they used to have like 8 lakh subscribers, and then offered by Nazara from India, Nazara Corporation, but they didn't get funded due to the mindset of the investor that 85% of the stakes was with the investor and 15% was with the entrepreneur who have got an IP. and then if the investor didn't succeed to dilute, didn't wanted to dilute the CS book coming big $1 million entrepreneur invest $1 million fund, and then you will see the scene that what's the real entrepreneurs are facing here. So these kind of things I suggest to the coming ecosystems people that first we need to start a WIPO. At least we need to bring WIPO here first, and then WIPO will what they do, they just promote innovation ecosystem knowledge itself by their organization, and then the beginning of innovation starts from WIPO, and then there comes the universities, incubators, and then all the private sector as well, the government sector. As Rupesh Krishna sir told, they have to just combine in one umbrella, and then in that umbrella, the voids which we have about the skills and skill and experienced mentors who are not itself entrepreneurs, who are not entrepreneurs. I don't believe that they teach another entrepreneurs. So putting the filling the voids between these things, if we bring foreign talents here, like foreign funds here, and then communicate them regularly, like creating this kind of platform, then I think it will take us a little bit one step ahead.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
If we have more time, we'll go the next round. But then next, I will go to Mr. Jitrapon. We talked about, before that actually, since WIPO was mentioned, I was there last week at WIPO representing Nepal and representing my company as well. And they're very excited. Now we're starting actually pro bono attorney program in Nepal, with the initiative of WIPO to do exactly the same, to help the entrepreneurs early on. And also we're starting few other women entrepreneur initiatives also, and they will be funding few of our lawyers to go abroad to study on scholarships to bridge this gap. And now to talk about some of these other infrastructures that are required, and Thailand has really beautifully placed these infrastructures in place so that in the ecosystem, entrepreneurs don't have to do everything. You could just focus on what you're doing rather than trying to build a policy and then advocate here and there. And we would love to learn how you have been able to do that. What were some of those initial steps? Because I'm sure there were like points of impasse in Thailand also. How did you deconvolute those things and then came to solution and were able to implement it? Because I don't think having a good policy is the end. The end would be able to implement it and then seeing those results, right? So how are you able to do that? We'd love to learn that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I haven't talked about the roles of my organization, the NIA, and some of the challenges and dilemmas that Thailand as the ecosystem has been facing and trying to tackling on. So if I may, I would like to share you a little bit of my slides, if you allow me. Okay, thank you. So first of all, so NIA is under the Ministry of Higher Education, Science, Research and Innovation, or you can call it MACI. We are at the level of funding agency and operation level agency. Our vision is to be the key stakeholder in enhancing the national innovation system towards sustainable values. And our missions are to promote national innovation ecosystem development, promote ease of doing business, and promote the innovation capability development. So yeah, innovation is at our core and at the heart of our interests. So where are we in 2021? So Thailand has been ranked in the 43 ranking in GII, and as the third in ASEAN. We are recognized as our strong points are, for example, the business environment, the corporate participation, the creativities, and so on. And also, as you mentioned, we have beautiful places and strong infrastructures and logistics supply chains. Yep. So our aims towards 2030 is to be in the top 30 in the GII, and startups are one of the focus that we are trying to help and drive in terms of the ecosystem. We have come so far because back then, like 10 years ago or 6 years ago, we have only tens of the startups and players in this ecosystem, but now we have hundreds of them, and everyone talked about startups, fundraising, collaboration with startups, and the business environment in the private sector, in the government sector has been very vibrant, and everyone open and look forward to working with startups, even whether it be domestic startup or international startups. And there has been a lot of initiatives, incubation program, acceleration program, landing pad, launching pad. A lot of them has been created and are running at the moment. So it cannot be this success without the policy implementation endorsement from the government. So back in 2016, the government has established the National Startup Committee, or NSC, pulling all the relevant agencies across the ministries to work together, including NIA. and other. So these are the key aspects that the committee is trying to address. I won't go into details. And these are some of the current dilemmas and challenges that Thailand is facing, and we are trying to address it in multiple dimensions. So there are firm capability, human capability, innovation infrastructure, utilization, innovation opportunity and regionalization, regulatory hack and innovation friendly system, internationalization of innovation from Thailand, and immunity to global challenge. I won't go into too much details. I will just give you a few examples per aspects. So for example, for firm capability, we have developed a lot of incubation program, boot camps, accelerator programs from the government side, and also we also encourage private backed programs to help building the firm capabilities. We have mentorship program, we have hackathons, and also we have entrepreneurial university schemes where we try to encourage university students to initiate or to start their own startups from the days that they are still in the university. For the human capability development, we also, so apart from develop inside, we also have a particular scheme to attract foreign talents. It's called Smart Visa Scheme, where we give privileges for to take talents, investors, startups to come to Thailand and explore the opportunity in Thailand. For the innovation infrastructure utilization, so we try to establish the connection with RTOs, the research technology organizations, especially science park across the nation, to mobilize and to increase the utilization of the infrastructure right there. And for the fourth one, we innovation has been like very concentrated in urban area and also in the capital, Bangkok. So we try to allocate more budget, regionalize, mobilize people, funding and things to regional sites, northern part, southern part, and other parts of the nation. So we have this kind of nodes and units that try to drive the innovation in regional areas. And the fifth one is regulatory hack and innovation friendly system. So there has been a large funding gap and also the restriction in early stage startup in terms of selling their stock to employees and also to their directors. So just last year, the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission, just unlocked this kind of regulatory block by allowing any early stage startup to sell their stocks to their employees, to their directors, and also they just announced the crowdfunding platform and secondary market exchange platform for trading those kind of stocks. So this is going to be huge. And also recently the ministry, the MACI, which NIA belongs to, they're also trying to push the
Mr. Jitendra,
holding company.
Sorry for pushing you. Let's try to wrap up. Yep. I'm just giving you a heads up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we also have this holding company scheme to allow the spin-offs and the mobilization of IP research from university to spin out more easily in Thailand. Apart from that, we also established the Global Startup Hub Thailand to be the window contact person for anyone who wants to come to Thailand. Just contact this center, or any startups who want to go abroad. They just contact this, and we will connect to the relevant parties. We also host Startup Thailand Innovation Expo. This year will be around late June, virtually and also on site. So please feel free to join to experience the vibrant ecosystem in Thailand. Yep. Apart from that, this is the Space F program that I am in charge of. We do both influx and outflux of the startups, especially in the food tech area. So I would love to learn more and explore more on potential collaboration. We also have this bilateral program where we introduce some of the international startups to explore potential collaboration with domestic corporate partners in terms of POC. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much. I know it's not enough time when you are the only person representing Thailand ecosystem and we have 3 panelists representing Nepal.
Yeah, so sorry. Yeah, that's it.
Definitely,
Thank you.
please look up all these things online. I was looking up and it was very impressive things they're doing. You can see online in more details. I'm hoping we can also contact NIA for if we have any specific question regarding collaborations. My next question, now I will really request the 2 remaining panelists to make it very short. So I'll go to Mr. Suman Sakya next. We saw in Mr. Jitrapun's presentation, GII, Global Innovation Index. We saw some of the metrics that sort of measures where we are. Do we need national innovation index? Because you were talking about contextualization, and also how do we collaborate in terms of there are these global startup hubs, we have national hubs. How do we form this sort of alliance and collaboration? We talked about the challenges, we talked a little bit about the systemic challenges. Now let's go towards the small wins and the solutions part. Somewhat. Over to you, Mr. Suman Sakya.
Thank you. I wish Nepal would replicate what is being done in Thailand. And I think one of the work that I think Rupesh would talk later in his dissertation is about how the ecosystem is evolving in Nepal. What I see here is that there is no coming together of individuals or groups who have been working individually on their own, and they have been doing a bit of gain on their side, and possibly because we love to remain fragmented and we love to be the big fish in a small pond, but we really do not come together. I think that effort is very much required. It has now come to a stage where the FNCCI or the CNI now also has a startup focused groups. I think there has been discussion with the Ministry of Industry and Ministry of Foreign Affairs and so on and so forth to sort of at least start with the foundation of defining what startup is and what kind of support can be there, and how then tomorrow, if the startups requires funds, how would the local banks also do it? Because current setup, the banks cannot do it without any collateral. So there is existing other players in the private equity space who's doing it, but still it is very, very challenging. So I think these small successes that has been taking place needs to continue. And there must be a recognition for these efforts that is taking place in the ecosystem here. Most of it is still concentrated in Kathmandu. We have been slowly seeing activities happening in other provinces as well. But there has to be a solid support. I think it will come from the government only. We have to expect the government to do something. Otherwise, what is happening in the Nepal space is that there are donors who are coming in and supporting these entrepreneurs, doing some private sector engagement and doing some boot camp and doing some challenge funds and so on and so forth. Now, the mindset has been that, oh, if we participate in this competition, then we'll be funded. So the entrepreneurs are kind of moving towards grants, which is not bad. Initially, it is required, but you cannot remain a grantpreneur for life. You have to have your product and services moving forward. Yes, support is required. And I feel that there must be a collective effort that is required where all these actors are brought into a single point, and we can discuss as to what needs to be done, who is doing what, why to replicate something that is already being done, that there can be something else that is coming in. From our side, we are trying to bring Founders Institute to Nepal. And the reason it has been delayed is that the founder has to sign a warranty that 4% of his company will be pledged to the Founder Institute if tomorrow they acquire investments. So a Nepali company cannot provide 4% equity to a foreign company unless there's a threshold. So the FDI is a major challenge, where currently it's around $450,000 in terms. It is 5 crores Nepali, and with that, startup culture cannot function. So those aspects, if it is done, those small wins, yes, we have been hearing that it will be lowered, but 4 years has gone by, it has not happened. So if these small wins can be taken place, I think a lot can happen. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I also was looking at other panelists' faces. They were nodding in agreement, obviously. And so next, we'll go to Mr. Rupesh Shrestha. We heard small success and having difficulty going into big success. You were talking about where we are still at proof of concept, and we need to go into more of formalization. How do we accelerate change? How do we formalize and leapfrog into economic growth? I will also give you, since we're out of time, I'll also give you my wrap-up time, and I'll take really maybe to finish in 1 or 2 sentences after that.
Sure. Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much, Pratibha. I'll just echo what Suman said. And definitely when you look at the threshold where we are at this moment in time, we've done a lot of experimentation, individually, organization-wise, institution-wise, academic institution-wise. But these have all been at the informal level. That is the reason why it is so fragmented. That is why everybody is doing their own stuff, but nobody is together, right? So how do we really take the next step? It's like when you're talking about policy, it's either top-down approach or a bottom-up approach. So if you look at the example of Thailand, it's more of a top-down approach. Whereas in Nepal, we are looking more at a bottom-up approach where even though we have created proof of concepts that these things work, even in isolated scenarios, innovation is happening, startup is happening. How do we really institutionalize this and accelerate it? Is the solution, is the policy. So like what Mr. Jitapon was talking about, if he does not have that, the policy at the national level, even his NIA would not be able to function. And it is not only just the policy that needs to come about. The government also needs to invest in building this ecosystem. And we have seen these results, be it in India, be it in Bangladesh, be it in Thailand, be it in Rwanda itself. We have seen the results coming out of when the top-down approach in policy has been taken, where government has also made a point that we are going to invest in this so that the greater public good financially, socially will transfer. And when there is investments from the government, incentivization happens. And all the small things like what Suman was talking about, what Achut was talking about, it's like small FDI rules and regulations, starting a company, or even finding a space in the incubator or accelerator, or even having access to market. All these small things really comes together, even for institutions like FNCC and CNI to collaborate together with the innovation centers. Also would make sense, because another thing that we don't see is we come up with institutional setups where innovation is promoted, but we do not have reasons and priorities as to how we are going to connect it with the industry. And how are we going to connect it with the knowledge generation sides? Yeah? And until and unless those crossroads don't meet with overarching, because when you're talking about startup policy, it is not a standalone policy. Because we've faced that problem as well in 2015, I think so, 15, 16, when we tried to really push startup policy, it did not come together. And still it's not coming together because it's either one ministry of the government trying to really look into how we can take control, whereas it has to be a representation of all the ministerial bodies on that board, along with private sector, public sector, innovation sectors as well. So it's a tough challenge. And it can only come together if the government really puts in that bill, saying that, yes, this is something that is required. We have seen these examples in other parts of the world. And we also have a proof of concept in Nepal. So let's move forward. So the next big thing that we really need to push forward is policy. And definitely the collaborations that we'll have with Thailand or other innovation centers around the world, we'll really see the results. But right now, even if I am collaborating with NIE at this moment also, it'll be more at an informal level. And the impact, yeah, there will be impact, but will it really scale up? I really doubt it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your remarks. It really wonderfully wraps up. It almost, so what I heard today overall in like few sentences is we're really working at individual entrepreneurs level. We need forces to bring these minds together to form platforms, mentoring platforms to accelerate change. We're doing bottom-up approach where I heard all of you actually were wearing different hats of policy advocacy and then also ecosystem entrepreneur, and then have to juggle with your own enterprise and things like that. This is not going to sustain. Individuals cannot do this. The system has to be there, which means the government has to really step up now when we have all these individuals trying to support, bringing ecosystem together, bringing infrastructures and systems together, like we saw in the example of Thailand, how they're really wonderfully taking these simple steps to go towards a much bigger goal. We need the same in Nepal. This is wonderful. We will continue this conversation further. As we do this, we also need to think about fourth industrial revolution, which is around knowledge economy. So we cannot forget about IP, ideas, the value of ideas. I see that there is no valuation of IP in Nepal. We need to sort of start instilling that culture in Nepal as well. With this, I would like to thank everyone, especially His Excellency and also Vice Chancellor of NAST for being here for this long, all the panelists for your inputs. This is just a beginning. This is just an orientation platform. We'll go further with this, and let's keep in touch and then move this forward. Thank you so much, and looking forward to further collaboration with Thailand. And also thank you to the team, NEF team, for making this happen. Thank you very much. Namaste.